What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Uncharted Horizons podcast. We're starting a few minutes late, but I technically started it at 8:30, and you just got to listen to music for 5 minutes. So, that's what's going on there. So we are doing the best game of all time brackets. We're doing the final four. We're gonna finish that. I am Braden. This is Nicole. I'm gonna let Nicole sort of set the scene for the matchup while I give everybody else a minute to come in and I get our graphics all good to go. So, Nicole, if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, so we're down to the final four in our bracket for best games of all time. We ended up with Skyrim versus God of War on one side, and then the other side we have Resident Evil 4 and Persona 5 Royal. So that's where we left off, and ideally we need to come up with a winner, even though I believe I have my favorite game on one side and Braden has his favorite game on the other. So ideally we're going to come to a conclusion there, but we will see what happens. After we decide or get through like our final four and figure out the final game, ideally it's going to be followed. We have a Cult of the Lamb giveaway code that Braden was nice enough to buy for the podcast.
Yes.
So yeah, we ideally are going to do that giveaway, and then we'll go into like our discussion and talk of Cult of the Lamb since we both finished that game. I actually rolled credits last night, so fresh on the mind.
And I did specify on the Twitter, if you guys aren't following us on Twitter, by the way, the podcast, that's the best way to follow for like future giveaways and updates and all that stuff if you're ever interested in that. So if you're not following us there, that's definitely going to be step one. The winner does have to be present during the stream to win. So if we draw someone and they are not here, we will do another drawing, and we'll just kind of play it by ear. I technically didn't actually purchase the code yet. I'm going to I have a Steam credit loaded. I'm going to buy it, but I didn't buy it yet. But it'll be there. So, yeah, it's going to be a Steam copy, just because I think that's the easiest way to, like, if someone does win and doesn't have Steam, like, maybe we can work something out, but I think it's just easier to just do it that way, because then you can send the Steam key. Screen Cap Discord is picking the wrong stream. Yeah, no, I understand. We were a little chaotic getting started today for multiple reasons, and, so thanks for everyone who's joining us, and, yeah, so Nicole set it up really well. We got the final four. I guess we're just gonna have to rip this band-aid off and really get right into this. So, with the first matchup, the winners of the left bracket rather, we've got Skyrim on one side. Obviously, we've talked about a lot. It's a fan favorite here. And God of War on the other, which won IGN's bracket, and ironically enough, these two actually faced off in IGN's bracket in the quarterfinals, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, the quarterfinals. At least Skyrim made it quite far in that
top 8.
one.
It was top 8, and God of War won. I think it was like 64% to like 46 or 36, or however that math would work out.
Closer than I would think it would be,
Yeah, and it is interesting. So this is obviously, this is where this comes down to nuance here, because we're ranking based on our opinion. We're not necessarily ranking just on objectively the game, but at the same time, like, there's different factors to take into it. And Nicole has been very vocal about her love for Skyrim. We ran a poll on Twitter, and there was some mixed feedback, but a lot of people did indicate that Skyrim would be their preference. I like the game. Never had anything bad to say about it. I definitely do think it's a bit overrated, but I think that has more to do with how much people hype it up versus the game itself not being good. I don't think it's like an Ocarina situation. And then, of course, God of War, which is easily one of the most fun games I've ever played. Just a really good, complete story with fun gameplay. I don't know what you mean. What's overrated there?
I think they were talking about Skyrim, probably.
Which is true, but again, it's not... Just because something's overrated doesn't mean it's bad. It just, like, the hype that Skyrim gets to this point for a game that, like, is the second best Elder Scrolls game. Oblivion is a better game, complete from start to finish, I think, overall.
Not now. Maybe it was.
Well, yeah, but then you have this, then it's really objective, because, which of course is the intent, but if we're looking at it as a whole, like, Skyrim came out in 2002? I don't know, 2011, something like that. Feels like it's been a long time.
I think it was 2011, but...
So we can look and say, which one is a more complete game, and there's obviously, like, different perspective and stuff.
Yeah, 2011.
2011. So, yeah, like, you can point to things like graphical and whatnot and say that God of War looks better, but it's also 7 years. I mean, that's, that type of thing with graphics and styles are a little bit tricky to quantify because that's just different time periods.
I don't know, just like comparatively to the other God of War games, though, it's not just graphics that makes this God of War better than those two. I think I played most of the first one. I went back to play them before I even played this one, just so I like knew what I was getting into. And I'm pretty sure I started from the beginning because I don't know why I would just like pick up in a random game. It was fine, but like the story is probably really what carries this one. Obviously, on top of it being like technically impressive and graphically.
Yeah, and the story is definitely the most intriguing part because it's the type of game you can play even on a lower difficulty and still kind of just get into and enjoy. So yeah, I mean, obviously this comes down to the acknowledgement that like with the top four, like all of these games are classics. There's really no way around it. And in essence, some of this is going to come down to preference, and it's going to come down to that. So I mean, I would pick God of War here, obviously, and I'm inclined to think that you would probably pick Skyrim. Now, for what it's worth, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just say if like we've been doing, at least I've been doing this bracket like pretty on like a personal level, not as like an objective level on what I think should be winning. If I was voting on what I think should be winning as far as like gaming in general, I'd probably say God of War. But like for me personally, Skyrim just like was one of those experiences that like I played once, and I like don't think. I mean, I'm sure I will. Things have been close, but like I don't think I'll get it like a experience like that ever again. It was just like one of those things that just like hit hard, and like I still think about it obviously, and I've gone back to replay it so many times because it was that special, and it's still that special, which like usually I am not the type of person to rewatch shows and stuff or like movies even if I really like them. I just don't do it for some reason. I don't know why. I just like don't ever want to rewatch something, but like Skyrim's something that I like oh no, I want to replay that because I think I kind of think like there's so many other things out there I could be watching or playing, so it's like, why am I going to spend my time doing something I already know what happens in? But like Skyrim is one of those games I'll just like I'll replay that for the rest of my life. It's fine.
And there is a lot of no two runs are going to be exactly the same. Like there is so much that can happen in the game, so that does make sense from that perspective. Yeah. I would also put out there in the interest of fairness. Well, I have been going rather a mixture of objective. I mean, there were some tough matchups like Hades and I forget which one it was in the last episode, but it was like Hades versus another game, and it was very close, very tough. Maybe even the Uncharted 2 matchup was tough for me. But I would put God of War over Persona as well in this case. So if that were the matchup, and I just think it has to do with the fact that it's more... There's not a lot of people that couldn't pick this up and play it and enjoy it. Like, in other words, it's an adventure game. It's like 20 hours long. It's not crazy long. Both Persona and Skyrim have this isn't a detriment, it's just a difference, that the game is a large time investment. You're not necessarily going to pick up and play either game all the way through without putting a lot of time into it. Skyrim's a little shorter, probably, but in terms of, like, if I'm saying somebody, like, hey, you're in the mood to play a game, why don't you go pick up this or this? God of War is going to be a lot more accessible and a lot more easy for people to get into than Skyrim is, and I would say the same thing about Persona, because I think, as much as I adore the game, it being an RPG or a JRPG in certain cases, it definitely has a niche following, so not a lot of people have played it or necessarily even know it exists.
This is true, yeah.
Skyrim...
Yeah, I guess Skyrim's definitely a very specific type of game. And like you said, you can't really be like, anyone can play this. Like, it's going to be quite a shock to people if they, like, only play cozy games or something like that. Which is nothing wrong with that, but, like, going into an open world game like that, and that's, like, truly open world where, like, you're just fucking minding your own business and a dragon comes and ruins your day. Like, that can happen. But, yeah, with God of War, you have... It's not super railroaded, but, like, you have, like, a very specific story and specific, like, sections you're working through. And, like you said, you can go on easy, and, like, that game's still a fucking fun time. You can't just, like... They make it... Well, like, you can just walk through it if you really want to. Like, I don't think you're ever gonna get stuck on the easiest difficulty because they have like story modes in games for that reason, just so people can experience the game. So, yeah, I think from that point you're right. But like the same thing with Persona, you can't really pick that up. But like Resident Evil 4, that's another game. Obviously, there's like the difficulty with just what kind of game it is. Like, you don't want to die in that game. But I still like I feel like there's more structure to that where someone can pick it up and try to like figure it out compared to like Skyrim or Persona.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's what it's going to come down to for me, because I'm happy with Persona getting to where it got, even if it doesn't win. I think top 4 is still, if you're in a bracket in the top 4 best games of all time, that's a lot of fucking games. Like, that's a really good place to be. And I just think, like, the best example is if you were to, like, pick somebody that's not really a big gamer or somebody that doesn't play a ton of games. Like, if you're a hardcore gamer and you love JRPGs, like, yeah, Persona easily. And if you love adventure RPG games, Skyrim is a great experience to play through. But if I'm just like, here, this is a video game, you don't know what video games are. Like, an alien comes to Earth and they're like, give me a game I can play that's fun or I'll destroy your planet. I'm going to give them God of War because I'm fairly confident that almost anyone's going to be able to go pick that up and play through it. And that is kind of what leans me towards giving that one the win and the nod in this case.
Yeah, I had fun, obviously a bunch of fun with both of them in probably different ways. Like you said, Skyrim's actually longer than God of War, I'd say, because
Oh yeah, easily.
I only just beat Skyrim's main story, like, it was either earlier, yeah, I think it was earlier this year, I don't know, in the COVID years, I just beat the main story finally, because every time I played that game, I would get sidetracked with literally everything else, and I never finished the main story, so I finally did. But yeah, you can put as many hours probably as you want into that game to, like, plus with all the DLC, there's a lot to do. God of War has a lot of post-game content too, like you can just finish that main story and there's a bunch of other things you can continue playing, so if you want more from the game, like, you'll get it. But if you also just want to, like, experience the story, like, see what it's about and finish the game, like, you can do that too. Because I finished the game and I was like, I am not fighting those Valkyries, I'm out.
Yeah, and you just kind of get to...
back, but...
I never played Skyrim fully all the way through either. I put a lot of time into it. I actually started it on 2 separate occasions. Probably is something that I should go back and try to play through again at some point. Maybe I'll do that when you start playing Persona 5, and then we can give alternating opinions on that.
It's true.
But in this case, based on accessibility and just based on the overall fact that God of War is not... that Skyrim and Persona are both a little bit more niche, I think... I'm gonna go God of War here, just as a more complete, sort of accessible video game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with giving it God of War just because I could see God of War winning the whole thing, and I think that that's a pretty good representative of both of us, like both of our choices, instead of it being like a one-sided thing. Because if it was up to us, we'd have, like, Skyrim and Persona winning.
Yeah, I think it'd be like a split scenario, so I'm trying to find a level ground, because I think we both really like God of War, for sure. And obviously we're a little bit different on that. So, okay, I'm gonna give that God of War the winner, move that on to the final. And then, which is, again, it's top 4.
Sadly, but it deserves it. Something's gonna lose.
Yeah, and that's really where
everything else loses except the winner.
And that's where we get to a tricky point with this. And it's kind of funny because God of War won the other bracket. But on the one hand, it's like, well, we went through all these videos, multiple hours of videos to do this bracket. But at the same time, there might be a reason that a large majority of people voted God of War to win, right? So it's not like it's this crazy thing that we may end up there too.
It's just like, and it's wild that it won too when it's exclusive to a PlayStation. And so you have all these people playing Skyrim on multiple consoles across multiple generations. Yeah. But then you have, now it's on Steam, but a PlayStation exclusive game that you can just pick up and play. You don't have to play the other God of War games. You don't really need them.
Because I think Skyrim's on the toaster now too, right? The smart toaster.
It was on a fridge.
That would not. Did that actually happen?
Yeah, it was really on a playable fridge, like one of those smart fridges. Someone uploaded it, but no, was it a toaster? They uploaded it on something crazy.
I don't know why you would need a smart fridge. This is a whole nother conversation, but you just made me think of it. Like, what is the point? It's a fridge. Like, what? Like, I've seen fridges with, like, Pandora and touchscreens. Like, who spends that much time near or around their fridge that you need a smart fridge?
I need a fridge to, like, lock me out after 9 p.m.
That would be great, yeah, so there's no temptation for late night.
Shut.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to the other one here,
yeah.
Which is Persona 5 versus Resident Evil 4. You have not played either of these, correct? I believe we established that firmly.
Gordon Ramsay. Why did you say Gordon Ramsay? Did I miss something?
I was gonna Resident Evil 4. Yeah, so for our podcast, for our listening audience, Persona 5, Resident Evil 4, Persona 5 Royal, specifically. And I'm gonna just right off the bat concede to you the same point that I just used against Skyrim and say that that Persona realistically probably can't go any further than this because it is kind of locked in a niche scenario where it's my favorite. Like, it's so unfair. It's so hard to say, but it's like that and Uncharted. But like with my own personal bracket, I can put them side by side and it's fine because fuck it, I make the rules. But here, like, it really is it's the best JRPG I've ever played, and realistically probably the best game I've ever played. Like, it's just that good and it's that immersive. But there are going to be people who just don't like it or can't get into it because it's the time sink and it has, you know, a little bit of slowness to get going, and it may just not be someone's cup of tea, and that's totally fine. And that's the beauty of gaming, is that everyone has all these different things that they like and get into or what have you. Like, I absolutely recommend the game to literally anyone, especially Royal, not the original. Like, if you don't play the original, it's fine, but Royal's a lot easier to get into and a lot more accessible. But at the end of the day, it's a JRPG. Like, it's got a niche audience, and not everyone is going to have played it, and that's going to hold it back from being, like, the top game, I think, overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I played Persona, I probably would pick Persona, just because it seems like it'll be my kind of game. But Resident Evil 4 seems to be, like, people's favorite from all of those, and I know that's from, like, my friend personally, too, and I was like, hey, what game should I play from the old ones? Because I played 7? Yeah, 7 and 8, that one in Village. He was like Resident Evil 4, which is getting a remake in March of next year, so I will definitely be playing it then. I don't think I'll play it now. There's no point when there's a remake coming.
I don't know if I would agree with that, and I only say that because the remake is likely going to be a lot darker and a lot more, at least based on what they've shown. Part of Resident Evil 4's charm is that it's very cheesy, but it's cheesy in a way that, like, is memorable. Like, the villains are goofy. Surely you've seen the Merchant, you know, the what are you boy, and like the Resident Evil guy, the Merchant or whatever. Like, the game itself is peak Resident Evil kind of campiness. Like, Leon is not, he doesn't take himself too seriously. But it's still really fun to actually go through and play, and it was the first Resident Evil game to have, like, a merchant where you could actually buy different weapons and upgrade weapons and stuff like that. I would recommend that game to anyone that likes Resident Evil or is even remotely intrigued by Resident Evil, but if you're just like, it's not even scary. Like, it's not like a spooky game. Like, the villains are very cartoony. It's a parasite type thing. Like, they're not like...
I like the sound of that.
Right, so it's like, even for you, like, it's lower than Bendy in terms of jump scares. I think you'd be fine.
Oh, thank God.
But it does
have... chased?
Not really. I mean, well, yeah, you do get chased by village people.
No.
But they're not...
Well, is there, like, one guy that's, like, constantly coming after you?
No, it's not like Resi 2 and 3 where you got Nemesis and Tyrant. The game is 15 hours start to finish. If you're a completionist or you want to, like, trophy stuff, it's about 30 hours to 100% complete.
No, I'll just play it through.
I absolutely recommend playing the original, even if you plan on playing the other one. And, like, I don't know, I think we talked about this last time. You said you haven't played Resident Evil 2 Remake, which won, like, Game of the Year a couple years ago, and it's just, like, a ground-up rebuilding of the original.
Yeah, did they get rid of the fixed cameras on those? Because that's why I
Yes.
didn't want to play them. Like, none of me wanted to play the game like that, no matter how good it was. Like, I hated it. It looked terrible.
You mean, like, the
But if
tank
that's
controls
gone-
kind of, where you have to, like, move both, like, looking...
No, where it's just, like, the camera's fixed on the wall, so, like, you're, like, watching the person walk through different... I just did not
Nothing
like
like
that.
that.
How am I gonna fight something when I'm, like, watching in a third person from, like, above the ceiling? I'm just like, no, I don't wanna...
Yeah, no, it's not anything like that. Resident Evil 2 and 3 on PS4, and I think RE2 Remake might have gotten a PS5 upgrade, but, like, there's a reason that was game of the... You know, those games are amazing, and I highly recommend playing them. I own them if you ever want to borrow them, so you don't have to buy them.
Is 4 the first one with Leon, or is it, like...
Leon was in 2.
Okay,
Leon's in... So, chronologically speaking, 4... No, 4 is its own... You don't have to have played anything else Resident Evil-wise for 4 to make sense. It's a self-contained story, sort of. It is chronologically a sequel, but nothing that happens in 4 is, like, pertinent to anything else that you're gonna do. You're out in... Because I don't want to spoil it. It's been out for a long time, but I think it's fun to actually experience, even though the story's not, like, the full reason you play that game. But you're out in the middle of, like, a country in, like, I think it's, like, South America or Central America, and you're in, like, an isolated, like... Basically, like, Aztec temple-type areas and stuff like that with all this old architecture. It's like a village in, like, Spain or something. And that's where most of it takes place. So it's not like Resident Evil 7 where it's, like, in the house and it's all spooky and whatnot. It's really, really good.
7 is horrifying.
Well, the whole... 7 is... I played some of it. I just got...
scary.
Oh, I remember watching you play. I didn't think it was that bad. In VR, I hear it's fun. I think you should try it at some point.
Burge Champ says you definitely need to play 2 to understand the stuff in 4 to BH because Ada's in it. Ada.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, Ada is in it. I would say that I recommend playing 2 regardless. I would say that you could play 4 without having played 2, and it doesn't take away from the experience. Is maybe what I meant to say. Yeah, Hades is hot. I mean, that guy fucks. Well, we know he does. He's got at least one kid, right?
He's got at
so
least
he
one
definitely.
child.
I mean, he's been alive for literally all of existence, and we don't know if Hades, if what's his name? What the fuck's his name? Zagreus. We don't know if he has any brothers or sisters, but I mean, Hades, Devin. What are you gonna do? He's hot, but I would absolutely recommend. I recommend both, honestly. But if you're gonna play 2,
I mean, 2's already got a remake, so it'll go on my backlog somewhere.
2 remake is better than the original 2. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people.
That one has the chasey guy, and I don't
Mr.
like
X.
him.
Yes, the tyrant, and it's really it's creepy, but not like I'm not like, oh my god, I can't sleep tonight creepy, but it's like you always hear his footsteps and he's always following you, so you have to be like one step ahead because you don't know where he is, and you'll just be playing the game and there's like dead silence, and you just hear like he's up above you, and then he'll
cry.
So I mean, stream it if you
Lady
play.
Dimitrescu following me around the castle, like she was always kind of there. Like I would do my thing, I would get something, and then I would trigger her chasing me, and I'd have to fucking run around and like crawl into a fucking fireplace to get her to go away.
Worse ways to go than Vampire Mommy, I guess. But I think
I need to stop playing these games though. Bendy's the same way. Bendy has the guy chasing you. You need to hide in a fucking closet, and it's.
Bendy, I feel like, was just frustrating because I'm like objectively bad at puzzle games in a lot of cases. Not that I don't like them, I'm just like my brain like gets very confused by. I played fucking Pajama Sam. I mean, I played Pajama Sam not that long ago and got completely tripped up by a puzzle in Pajama Sam. Not a puzzle, but like a competitive. You like play this game of like dice or something against a carrot, and I played it while not fully sober, and it was very frustrating. And my friend was like, "This game is made for 4-year-olds," and I was like, "Yeah, but like 4-year-olds have a much better attention to detail." It is. Pajama Sam is hard.
On this bracket, I literally bought the Thunder and Lightning game off Steam not too long ago, and I'm still like, I haven't gone back to finish it. But I remember getting stuck like within the past 10 years of my life on that one, so I was like, I'm buying it. And I'm gonna figure it out.
I think we should just do a joint playthrough stream of Pajama Sam at some point.
Pajama Sam is underrated. That should be best game of all time.
What was the other one? Putt Putt? Is that the car one?
I haven't played that one, but yeah, that's the car.
It's the same type of people. All right, so I have to concede this one as much as I like Royal. I think, again, if I was to pick a game for somebody to play that was just looking for a video game to pass the time and get into versus something they were looking to like really sit down and sink their teeth into, if I know it's their type of game, Resident Evil 4 is going to be what I pick here.
Okay. I don't really have a say. Personally, if I played both, I probably would pick Persona. Because like I said, everything I know about that game sounds like I'm going to love it.
It's incredible.
But yeah, I mean, I'll probably also like Resident Evil because I like 7 and 8 despite being terrified the whole time.
It's the best one, and I don't think it needs a remake, but I'm happy that it's getting one as long as they don't lose the spirit of what made it so good. Because 2 and 3 are very much like horror, like, I mean, it's not like super scary, but it's like dark, it's intentionally kind of like the story is. Resident Evil 4 is like goofy in a way, and if they take that away fully, I feel like that's gonna take, like, Leon has a bunch of campy lines that are just really stupid and cheesy, but it makes the game, like, it adds to your, overall game experience. And, I don't know, I recommend that one for sure for you, especially because it's shorter. Like, you could probably stream that in, with the way you stream, like, once every 3 weeks, you could probably beat that in, like, a couple of years. Like, it wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Okay, so we've got our winners, which is going to bring us down to our final 2. And that is going to be, of course, Persona and God of War. No, I'm sorry.
You said it was
Resident Evil and God of War. That's my fault. Sorry. Occasionally I'm wrong.
Your conscience talking.
Well, because I do feel like it doesn't feel right to use that argument against Skyrim and then use it in my favor for this. I had to be fair and consistent, I think, in order for us to end this bracket with an actual decision one way or another. So here we are. God of War and Resident Evil 4 as the final 2. Two of the best games that I've ever played, for sure. I wasn't even good at Resi 4, but it was great. Man,
Scrooge
this
Champs, man, this is the easiest choice ever. I mean, it has to be God of
it
War,
is
right?
easy,
It's
but give a
Resident Evil
we're
4.
making content here. I'm trying to draw out the discussion a little. Skyrim wins. Skyrim's not even here.
Yes.
Look,
Yes.
I think that at the end of the day, what do you think? Well, you've never.
No, I think even if I played Resident Evil 4, like, I don't think anything I've done in either Resident Evil game so far and what I've seen of, like, 4 and stuff, I don't think it would top God of War. God of War gives you, like, the perfect story. Like, it's like the thing that we love, where you have, like, the grumpy dad and, like, the energetic, like, child, and they've been doing that a lot with, like, Hawkeye and just, like, a bunch of shows. Like, it's a formula that works. We love the trope.
Yeah, because
begrudging, or like begrudging parent figure. It doesn't even have to be like their biological dad in this case. So you have like literally the God of War. It's like mean. I don't even know. I don't have like words for Kratos.
He's mean.
And then
Kratos,
yeah,
mean.
mean.
He's a douche.
Yeah, you know that guy.
The dialogue in Resident Evil 4 is phenomenal. That's why I want you to play the original, because it's just such a cheesy. It's such a great game. I've honestly thought about replaying it before the new one comes out, and I have time, so I might do that at some point just to like get back into it. Yeah, so again, Kratos is mean, Leon is nice. I think that pretty much is gonna sum this up here a little bit.
Mean guys, you know, he's got to escort his kid and like
he's
help
a piece
it.
of shit, but like he cares about his kid.
He's a piece of shit, but
because Joel, it's The Last of Us, like it's The Last of Us type thing. Except you could argue, technically, which might ruffle some feathers, you could argue Kratos is less of a piece of shit than Joel, just in terms of well, actually. Kratos technically dooms the world too in the end of God of War 3 when he like triggers.
This is true.
He triggers death of everyone. So I guess in theory, like, you know,
somebody, I'm not naming names, but you know, the next one, someone triggers Ragnarok. So
Kratos
I don't remember who triggered Ragnarok, so I'm not giving you a spoiler.
Well, it's pretty obvious because the next game is called God of War Ragnarok. Kratos fucks. So, he probably does.
That's also the end of the world. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't even know, so maybe Joel is better. I feel like the smear campaign against Joel has gone a little too far, but...
It's still really sweet, though. Like, you have this, like, brutal dude and his son going to spread their wives' and mothers', like, ashes, and it's just like... How do you make, like, taking that as a story, it's like, oh, how are you gonna make God of War a game about spreading your wife's ashes? And, like, they did it in such a fun way, obviously. They have, like, all the action is wicked good. There is nothing more satisfying than throwing his axe and recalling it to you. It's just
I do
so
like
good.
that. I also feel like the game wouldn't have existed if they just fucking spread her ashes like in a lake. Like, she's dead. She's not gonna know.
They had
like, everything that happened could have been avoided. And I haven't finished it yet, but everything that happened could have been avoided if they had just dumped her in a lake and been like, yeah, I took care of it, it's fine. And then, you know, the whatever, but it's fine. I mean, it's just what I would have done. It's better than rubbing them on himself again. I guess that's true. He could have covered himself in the ashes, taken a dip in the water, let him spread. He would have been fine. But it's...
Yeah, but then you got, like, their little companion guy, the little talking head. Forget his name. It's been a while now.
Mjolnir. No, not Mjolnir.
No?
Mimir. Mimir is
his name's like
Mjolnir's
that,
the hammer.
You got, like, the two brothers, Brock and Sindri. Like, they're sweet. Like, they have a very cool cast that you meet. And the sequel looks even better with this as far as the cast. Like...
I like Freya too. She's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, Freya's cool.
I'm looking forward to finishing.
Pretty.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's fair to go God of War here.
I mean, we know it's worthy.
Yeah, and the funny part is that when we started this, I really didn't think that it was going to end up coming down to the God of War. I knew it would be in the top, but I didn't think it was going to be the winner necessarily. But the way that Resident Evil swept half the bracket, sort of on the other side with those matchups, like
having played it.
Yeah, right. So like, and again, it's just sort of it was a very much unexpected. I thought Last of Us would get farther, and you could argue that these types of brackets have one inherent flaw, and it's that they match up games that have literally nothing in common, so you can't even really compare them. Like, in a realistic sense, if I was going to sit down and make an objective bracket that we weren't just, like, doing for fun, you wouldn't really even have God of War and Resident Evil 4 in the same competition with each other. It'd be, like, best survival horror game and best, you know, beat 'em up game.
It's hard to talk about when they're completely different genres and they're trying to achieve different things.
But, at the end of the day, I think either one was a safe bet, And so I think that's a pretty fair way to end it, after we've gone and broken down all of this. I think that's a pretty fair way to end it. And I was just taking a look for context purposes at IGN's bracket. So, like, the final four.
Ew.
And the final four of that bracket, which I have and am trying to pull back up again, the final four of that bracket was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas versus God of War. And Grand Theft Auto 5 versus Breath of the Wild.
Are you fucking
That was
kidding
the
me?
final of IGN's bracket. So GTA
That's how you
San
know
Andreas.
that's a fucking popularity vote, because I mean that's what it is. IGN has a very wide reach, so the fact that both GTAs made it is not surprising to me in the league.
Not only did both GTAs make it, certain matchups were astronomical here. It's just kind of insane how some of it went. And GTA 5 smashed Uncharted, The Last of Us smashed Metal Gear Solid. Like, these numbers are skewed, and it's interesting because people are voting a lot off of what they remember or what they played recently. Skyrim beat Ocarina but lost to God of War in the actual bracket. So it's kind of funny that was sort of the same thing that we had. And Persona didn't even make it beyond the first round because it lost to Super Mario Brothers 3, which is just insulting, realistically. And I think people just have like this cult-like mentality with some of that stuff. So.
Yeah, I remember either Skyrim made it and we didn't think it was going to, or vice versa, because they were running polls on multiple sites. So, like, Skyrim had, like, the lead on, like, Instagram, say, but then the votes from Twitter made it so it lost. Either that or, like, ended up winning. People were like, oh, it wasn't supposed to move on. And it's like, well, it did, because they were doing, like, a cumulative vote from all their sites. So they got, like, a pretty, like, wide outreach and did it in a good way. Yeah, God of War deserves that.
I think so too. I think we reached a mutual agreement here. We both had to give something up here to get there. We took our own journey to the top of the mountain to spread the ashes of our video game fandom, and we got here, so we're okay. God of War, definitely deserving to win, and as someone who just loves GameCube and is a huge fan of Resi 4, it warms my heart to see that it made it that far. So that was a pretty unexpected performance. So.
Yeah, I look forward to playing that, and then also Persona, which once I'm done, well, I finished Cult of the Lamb, but I need to platinum, clean that up, and finish Stray, so then I can actually start Persona. I mean, the rest of this year has got nothing. Everyone keeps running away from God of War, so...
This is true. You're going to have to pick a game for me to play, because essentially you're playing Persona and Resi 4, both of which I would very much have selected here for you. So at some point you're gonna have to pick something on this list that you like that I have not played. I know you said good things about Journey, and what is it? The other game.
I didn't play Journey. I just heard it was like I've heard.
Oh, that's right. I forget the other one was. Was it What Remains of Edith Finch? That's another one I thought you talked about, but I may be mixing brackets here because that may have been from something else. I never played that one either, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, that was the PlayStation bracket, but that is a great walking sim.
Yeah, I like I just have a weird thing where like some games that are not normally in my genre of things I like, I'll just get into regardless, and it's sort of it's just sort of random. But we're gonna go ahead and pivot now.
Yeah, we get to talk about the game,
which is exciting. I'm gonna let you start.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to get some, graphical things on the screen here. So we've got Cult of the Lamb. Cole?
Yeah, should I read what I wrote earlier, or should I just kind of wing it?
You can. I mean, I don't know if you want to read the whole
long.
Yeah, the whole thing. I would definitely suggest that you guys, if you're interested in more in-depth, reading analysis, if you will, to check out Nicole's gaming blog, which I am posting a link to in the Twitch chat now. And I also have added to the description for our Twitter page, so you guys can check that out. She's definitely got a way with writing that sort of is definitely enjoyable to read, and I'm not just saying that because she's listening here, so definitely check it out. And she gave some pretty in-depth thoughts on it, but I have some. I'm sure you have some. whatever way you
Yeah.
want to phrase them, by all means. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read the first few paragraphs just because I kind of gave like a brief rundown about what the game is in general.
Hmm.
So Cult of the Lamb is a Game of the Year contender, rewarding roguelite, and entertaining yet morally questionable management sim. At the simplest level, you play as a sacrificial lamb turned cult leader as you pay back your debt to the god who revived you. As cult leader, it is your duty to recruit new followers to your faith, build the cult settlement, and provide food and shelter to your followers, who in turn provide resources and devotion to you. So yeah, you pretty much start the game with absolutely nothing. You have this blank settlement. You start recruiting followers, so that's you will actually start with a dungeon run. So I'll get into the dungeon stuff after, but you start recruiting followers, which have a bunch of different little animal forms. It's really cute. So like you can have like a little bat, you can have a crab. That doesn't affect the game at all. It's just like your preference. You can rename them and make them different colors, but you pretty much run through these dungeons to gain resources, and that's also where you get followers. The followers on your I don't know what do they call that? Your farm? They just called it your cult,
The cult,
like your
just
area,
the farm, the hangout place, I guess.
your cult area, your cult home base, I guess, your cult base. From
Jonestown.
there,
I'm not really sure if it has a name.
yeah. I mean, I named mine Cult of the Sith, so that
Okay.
was my cult.
You like
But
Star
yeah,
Wars?
you got your followers. Yeah, you got your followers. You use them. Well, you in the beginning you have to do everything yourself. So you have to build them beds. You have to cook for them. You have to start chopping trees. You got to like clear out your space so that you can actually start building other things, and then using those resources to build more buildings, build your farm so that there's food and all of that. In the meantime, when you're not like doing cult settlement stuff, you're running through the dungeons. So there's 4 main dungeons. They're all themed differently, different enemies. At the end of each dungeon, there's like a main boss you have to get to. So like the whole point of the game is keep your cult happy, kill the 4 main bosses, and then there's other stuff that happens. But I guess we should do a spoiler warning at some point. But I just wanted to like give like a brief rundown before people left if they didn't want to play it. But
so, spoiler warning. I'm gonna give this a second because I know Twitch delays like 20 seconds or 15 seconds or something. If you guys are listening to the podcast, like I don't know, I would say skip ahead a little. And we're not gonna, it's not a ton that we could realistically spoil that would really ruin the game experience for you. But if anyone doesn't want to be spoiled, here's your warning. We're gonna talk about the game itself and all the other experiences in it. So, yeah. So, I am a big fan of roguelike games as a whole. At least every one I've played, I've enjoyed. I would definitely say Cult of the Lamb is up there for me. I think one of my favorite parts is the way it integrates the roguelite with the Animal Crossing type, like, life sim thing. I actually think that I enjoyed the farm or cult, whatever you want to call it, side of it much more than I did the other side. I think that it was a little bit too simple for the dungeon runs. And I've played Binding of Isaac and Hades, which are 2 of the best roguelites I've ever played. I like Hades the best by far, but Hades has a billion thing. I mean, in my opinion, Hades is the best roguelite of all time. And after playing Cult of the Lamb, I definitely put it above Binding of Isaac personally, but I can't say I put it above Hades. But that's not an indictment on the game. It's just Hades has everything. I feel like there are 4 different difficulties. So there's easy, and then there's medium, which is the recommended difficulty by the devs if you're like just starting out. To get the, a lot of times games will have a recommended difficulty so that you can get the experience the way that they intended it to be designed, and then you can sort of go hard or hardest to give yourself, more of a challenge or less of a challenge depending on what you're comfortable with. That was my only real kind of complaint going through the game, is that it didn't ever really feel hard. And like, I get that there's different difficulties. So I know you're going to have opinions on this, and I'm going to let you fully get that out, but I just want to put this out there. I feel like if the baseline recommended difficulty for an experience that, still offers an easy option for people who maybe just want to play the game and have fun and don't give a fuck about like the special challenges or hardness or whatever, should at least make you feel like there's a possibility that you could die, because part of the benefit of roguelites is like, if you do die, you get back, you start another run, you have to learn and improve. Where did I go wrong last time? What did I do wrong this time? You know what I mean? Like that kind of approach. And I never really felt that way in this game. I died twice, and they were both because of my stupidity and just playing badly or like going into a fight with 1 health and rolling into an enemy. Like, it's not even an indictment on the game. It's just if I had to pick something to say that I like would have liked to see differently, it just felt a little easy, and it didn't really feel like the dungeon part of it had enough diversity where it's like there's a bunch of different weapons, which is cool, but it's all the same playstyle. There's no ranged attacks, there's no magic. It's just you either get the dagger or the axe, the hammer. There's no magic really, even like you don't really have. I mean, you have the curses, I guess.
Those are magic.
No, they're not magic. They're not your main.
Yeah, because you have your base attack, and then that's like your like alt, which is like your magical attack. That's all different. You unlock so many of them. Like so many. Obviously, I think they should give you more of an option because you don't really get to see that many. You unlock so many of them, but like I don't think I saw every combination I could have got that I was unlocking because you unlock things so fast. But
yeah, I don't think I got. I want to finish. I want to go back into the game and unlock everything that I didn't unlock, like the rest of the collectibles and the items and stuff. But I don't think, and again, like, I just want to clarify because I think the game's awesome. I love it. Devolver is just on a roll. Like, I can't wait for the content updates that they've promised to see, like, what that means. Are there going to be new bosses? Like, are there going to be new bosses? But whether or not you agree or disagree with me on the difficulty part, because I know you stated it, and I'll let you kind of make your case, so I'm not speaking for you, but you told me when we talked about it earlier in, like, prepping that because you have hard and hardest as an option, like, people really shouldn't complain about the difficulty. But what I will say is that the final boss of the game, being the one who waits, like the big bad, is quite literally easier than most of the other bosses. And whether or not the game itself is inherently easy, the big bad final boss should definitely present more of a challenge than the bosses that come before him. Otherwise, you don't get the same level of, like, feeling rewarded that you made it through and you beat the guy. I was like, oh, I kept thinking there was going to be more, like another stage to him, and there wasn't. And I was like, oh, that's it? That's how it ended? Like, it almost just felt a little anticlimactic, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. He was the easier of the fights compared to, like, the last 2 main bosses, because, like, fucking Calamar, dude, this dude pulls out fucking 8 weapons. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I didn't die fighting him because I happened to go into his fight with a bunch of hearts, but I got hit so many times. Because that was my first time fighting him, I didn't know his patterns.
Yeah, his machine gun.
But, no, yeah, the final boss was surprisingly easy, but I guess in one way you could be like, oh, it was an easier fight, or you could be like, no, my lamb's just actually stronger than he is, and, like, he deserves to be the one in charge now. If you want to take it that way, because you do get rewarded for playing the game a certain way, and I think if you're a random person picking up a game like this for the first time, you might not have as easy as a time as we did, because we're both, like, pretty experienced with just, like, game mechanics in general, and also playing other roguelites, so, like, we were able to quickly see how the game works and just kind of, like, be good at it.
Yeah.
And then on top of, the longer you played, you unlock things pretty quickly, so, like, I was constantly upgrading my base weapon stats. I was, like, going into the dungeons and, like, ending up with, like, freaking 12 hearts by the time I got to the boss. So even though I was taking hits, like, it didn't really matter, because I was, like, using demons to bring me more health, like, using vampiric weapons that was dropping health, so, like, health was never really a huge concern. What does make it interesting, though, is for the Platinum on PlayStation, you need to fight each 4 of the bosses without taking any damage. So if you want a challenge, go ahead and try that.
Now,
that's going to be a fun one.
Are you going to do that on hard, or are you just going to do it on the basic difficulty?
I'm going to stay with where I am.
Where you're at,
and see if I can handle it, which I should be able to, because you get a pretty long invincibility window when you dodge, which is really nice, because sometimes they fill your entire screen with fucking chaos, and you really have to be precise with where you're dodging to, so you can dodge through an attack and land somewhere safe while you have, like, fucking fireballs and frogs jumping around. So they make it challenging, like, in that respect, but I think you can learn how to, like, be good at that game, like, fairly quickly.
Yeah, and I guess that's both a good and a bad thing, and it really depends on the perspective. And, like, I'm inherently just, like, bad at a lot of games. Like, I play games that I like because of story or things I get into. There's a small handful of games I'd say, like, I'm pretty good at this, like, I can play. But, like, more often than not, like, I struggle with certain things, and I just prefer to just play and immerse myself in the experience. But this game, I don't think I ever once felt like, oh god, I'm not going to be able to beat this. Like, Elden Ring, I put a ton of time into. but I was throwing my controller, I was swearing at the TV, like I was pissed. And the reason that I like that is because when you are angry, when you are pissed at things like, fuck this game, fuck this stupid boss, like I hate him and his family, when you finally beat them, it feels extremely gratifying. So while Cult of the Lamb is extremely fun and really, it's a very like, you know, fucked up theme, but they have all these adorable animals, so it's like just a neat like parallel going on with the whole thing. It's not rewarding. Is that fair to say? Like not to say I didn't enjoy it, but it doesn't feel like it rewards you for being good. It just feels like you just play through what they have for you, and that's cool, and that's not bad. I just, based on my experience with other roguelikes, maybe unreasonably expected more of a challenge than I got.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should just play it on a higher difficulty and see if your opinion stays the same.
I kind of want to.
Easy,
I've been thinking...
If it's still easy on a higher difficulty, then I think there's, like, something to be said about, like, balancing needs to be done with their stuff, but you did play on, like, the recommended. Like, they don't want... I don't think that's not what they're going for. They're not going for we want this game to be so hard that people, like, talk about it for how hard it is. Like, that's
Dark
the
Souls.
thing. Yeah, that's their thing. They want people to suffer. But yeah, I think at first I was like souped when I killed the first boss. I was like, oh fuck yeah, like I did this.
Yeah.
And I feel like early on, like I did it, but I feel like I still got down to like pretty low health or almost dying. So I was like, oh, it's sick. But then like as the game went on, I think you do level up very fast. So like the challenge kind of goes away. And obviously, like I said, the platinum trophies, those are going to be a challenge because that's quite a tall order to not get hit. There's nothing that can like give you bonuses for that either. The only thing I'm thinking of is there's a tarot card that you do damage when you roll into enemies, so that way if you're rolling and you end up rolling into the enemy, you're not going to actually take any damage instead of like usually you would because you're touching them.
Yeah. Well, there's also a curse attack that gives you invincibility for like 2 seconds or something.
Is there?
The divine, yeah, so it blocks all enemies away and gives you 2 seconds of invincibility. So that might be worth looking into for you just to kind of see what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, I recommend the game to anyone. It's very affordable. It's not expensive. So that's another thing. It's like it's a $20 game. Well, it's $25 on release, but you can find it on sale on a few different platforms already. And so I would definitely recommend it. It's fun. I just didn't feel like it was a challenge. And again, I think a lot of that may be on me because I went into it. Hades was really tough at first. Like the first time you fight Hades, it's hard enough because of how hot he is, but then on top of that, when you're fighting him, he just destroys you. Like, no, I don't know of anyone that beat Hades on the first try that they fought him. I have a couple friends who are substantially better at those types of games than I am, and I think even they struggle with him a little early on. And sometimes it just comes down to luck of the draw. Do you get shitty items? Do you get, like, things going on? Whatever. And this is not that. But again, that's more so me having an expectation that was never promised to me than it is like the game devs doing anything wrong. It's just I'm pointing out that like if you're looking for a challenge, maybe don't go into the game on standard difficulty with the expectation that it's going to be a challenge. Just lower your expectations to something more reasonable, and then maybe you'll enjoy the experience a little bit more.
Or just play in a higher difficulty.
Right, either or. Yeah, absolutely. Play it blindfolded, see what happens.
Oh yeah, you'll do great. There's a lot of haptics on the controller, so
yeah. Kill Will said, is that a frog emoji? Or is that just a
pot boy?
Is that the guy from Elden Ring? Is that Alexander the Pot? Also, hello. Thanks for checking out the stream, and thanks for jumping on, saying hello.
Pop guy, whatever his name is. Pop Man.
Pop Man. We are discussing Cult of the Lamb. We are getting pretty close to wrapping up here. I think probably another 10 minutes or so. We're trying to shorten these a little because the first couple were like almost 2 hours long, and I have a short attention span, so I know for sure that asking somebody else to sit through that for 2 hours, you know, sometimes less is more. Like, we have new topics coming up that are exciting, and we don't want to, like, you know, go too...
Yeah, but outside of the dungeon, though, like Cult of the Lamb, the farming sim stuff's, like, really fun. They made it, like, pretty easy. The more you progress, the more the followers will self-automate for you, so you don't have to take care of the farms anymore. You don't have to resource harvest. Like, they'll do all of that for you. The only thing they don't do is feed themselves, which I found super annoying. It didn't change how I felt about the game at all. It was just something I was like, this, I could hire a chef. Like, where's my chef?
Wait, they feed themselves?
The only reason they'll eat, but you still have to cook.
Oh, okay.
I upgrade everything but my cooking station. Like, if you leave food out for them for too long, it'll just go bad, so you can't, like, prep meals. And so I have to come back to feed these assholes, because otherwise everything else is taken care of. I don't need to come see them.
I don't know. I had a
So
bunch of old
annoying,
people
but-
die. A bunch of my elderly people died when I was trying to get to the final thing where you need 20 followers. I had 14, I think.
Kept dropping like flies.
And they just kept dying. So I go on a dungeon run, and after you beat each boss and then the boss that replaces that boss, you don't get a person or a follower by clearing the dungeon. You just get it from the like you can pick the path with the follower, and then you buy one from the spider. So I was never getting ahead on followers because I would get 2 and 1 would die, and then they'd all get sick because the other guy died. So you have to like that. I was so tilted because I was just like, man, I probably should have stocked up on followers earlier, but I didn't know.
Weird. I wish somebody warned you about that.
No,
I did. I said you need 20 followers to access the last door.
And I thought the last door was the door where it was 12, and you were just wrong.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I wasn't gonna spoil it for you, but
well, no, I mean, yeah.
they give you the opportunity. Like, I don't want 20 followers. The only reason I had that many, I'm happy with like 10, not even. The only reason I had that many is because I know you needed like more to access the doors. But like sometimes they'll be like, oh, like show us you're compassionate, take in these sick followers, and you end up just getting like 2.
Yeah.
And then you could possibly get like 2 in a run, and then you can also resurrect your dead followers, which I did a lot because I named mine after Star Wars people, which I think we forgot to talk about.
I've had it on the screen here. I've been going, I don't know what Savage is. I think Savage, you just leave
Savage.
Oh, is that like a French guy?
Did you not watch Clone Wars?
No, I've never seen Clone Wars.
Oh, I thought you did. Did you watch Rebels?
None of the animated series.
Oh, okay.
I tweeted about it not too long ago. My friend John was like, you should definitely watch it because it's good. I just have never seen. I know it's not like canon to anything, right? It's just its own.
Clone Wars is.
Is
they
it?
Both are now. It was a weird thing. One time one wasn't and one was, but now I think they both are. So.
Interesting.
Clone Wars is definitely canon because, my God, that show will make you feel things.
Is that the one with Ashoka?
Ahsoka, yeah.
Okay, it's spelled Ashoka. I don't know.
It's Anakin's Padawan. It like literally goes right up to the point of that we've seen in Revenge of the Sith, and it's literally so fun.
See, I love Star Wars, and I'm not gonna get into it a ton because I know we have a future video and a future episode coming up on this in the near future. But I've seen a lot, but there is a lot of Star Wars media. There is a lot. Like, you can't possibly consume all of it. Like, I haven't finished.
There's less Marvel. I mean, there's more Marvel content.
Right, but
Star Wars. You watch the 9 main movies and you've seen what you need to see. If you want to watch the other stuff, it just adds to the experience. But like, just watch the main 9 if that's all you can do.
Well, because Mando's amazing, Kenobi's great. I didn't finish it yet, but I have to. And I haven't seen Episode 1, Phantom Menace, because I just.
No, you cannot. We're not talking Star Wars.
I told you this.
You've seen all 9 movies.
I've seen every movie except Episode 1. I could Spark Notes it.
You need to watch Phantom Menace. It makes the others so good by comparison because that movie is so bad, but it's also hilarious because little kid Anakin is like a little shithead.
Okay.
Go watch it.
All right.
Anyway, I named all my followers after Star Wars characters. I decided to do that because I was like, I'm going to have to come up with a name every time. You don't have to. They pick a name for you and you can randomize. But it was very rewarding because the characters have interactions with each other. Like, I had Han Solo come up and ask me to play a prank on Luke by making him eat a bowl of shit.
Yeah.
Like, that was fun.
I remember that scene in the movie.
I had a really sad thing where, like, I built gravestones so that my followers could go grieve at graves. And, like, I swear the computers knew who they were because it was, like, really sad. It was, like, Kylo Ren grieving over Darth Vader's grave. And I was like, this is the best thing I could have done. And then towards the end, I had to fight one of my followers, and it happened to be Rex. And I was like, what are the odds? Like, Order 66, I have a fucking clone turning on me and trying to kill me. I was like, this is just perfect. So, like, I implore you to name your followers after something you care about, just like Harry Potter characters or something, because it's hilarious. Like,
yeah, I named mine after
the dialogue's very good.
It is funny. I named all my followers after old white guys, so I can't particularly say it was something I cared about, but I thought it was funny because, you know, Harold and Jerry and Gerald. Also, who's Yoga?
Oh, that was.
I'm just curious. I must have missed it. Is that a real?
Yoga?
Yes, it is.
Chewbacca, Yoga.
Well, Chewbacca's
So
spelled
Yoda,
wrong, but that one I figured was just, you know, you didn't have the extra.
oh no, yeah. Yoda came up and asked me to rescue their brother from a dungeon. So
Ah,
I went and
okay.
got him, and I
Okay.
named him Yoga because I was like, "Who's Yoda's
I remember.
brother?"
Yes, I remember Yoga from the movie. Stretch you must. I don't know, he must have
Yeah.
not had force power. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing a character because I know I haven't seen them all, but I don't know who.
Yeah, I was getting desperate at the end. Like I didn't have all of them because they're still alive. This was like my death list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got Padme,
I also don't have every screenshot you sent me because we were
Jar
running.
Jar, Count Dooku. Yeah. I went into clones. I had like fucking Echo and Heavy and 99. Like I was getting down there. I would have had way more. I just couldn't remember. I haven't watched Rebels yet, so I know there's like those people, but I'm pretty surprised. Almost everyone was named after Star Wars. The only time I didn't, someone that was watching my stream, I named them after them, and then I named one after my friend because she named one after me.
Yeah.
And then obviously Yoga.
That makes sense. Yoga was he was cool. I liked him. I thought they had a good relationship.
Yeah, like Darth Maul and Anakin were like frolicking through a field together early on. I was like, this game's great.
That must be the parts of episode 1 that I missed. Although
Yeah, but then like you get attached to them and you're not supposed to. Like you get rewarded in the game for like being a terrible cult leader and like sacrificing them, like eating their flesh after they die.
I never
like,
did that. Although I did
terrible.
I accidentally fed dead guy to another person without meaning to, and he died immediately afterwards. And I was like, why did he die? I'm like, oh shit, if you feed them dead follower meat, they immediately have a 75% chance of dying. I'm like, fuck. Because I always felt bad. Apparently you can put a compost thing in where you can put the dead bodies in that and they become fertilizer or something.
Oh, see, I have a very, very big graveyard because I wasn't using them for meat.
Yeah.
But the game's just great. Like, I sent Anakin out on a... you can send them to get fucking resources for you, and it tells you the % chance of them, like, surviving. And there's, like, 75% chance. Like, this is fine. Go ahead. Anakin comes back. He's there in the flesh. He's got his little exclamation point. He's like, Master, I did it! So I go over there and talk to him, and he's like, Master, I'm so sorry. I failed. And then fucking drops dead on the spot. I was never been more devastated. R.I.P. Anakin. But I brought him back. He's still alive. He's like 100 now.
I don't know how to resurrect anyone. I don't think I unlocked that ritual. So you can weed out the weak by doing this. Well, you can't sacrifice the elderly. You can't.
No, yes, you can.
No, you can't.
I have been.
You can't.
No, you can. So the game's really weird. It only lets you interact like on like a complex level with like the top 6 followers you have.
Really?
So like so like every time you go in there, it only pulls up 6 options, even though I had like 20 people.
Oh.
So I have somebody ask me, they'd be like, "Oh, can you sacrifice me? I want to die." And I'm like, "I got you." I go in there, and it's only like the 6 oldest ones that have been there, like the ones that, or maybe the ones with the highest loyalty.
I did not know that.
There was a few times I couldn't do my quest because they weren't one of the available options. So I'm hoping because the team has a lot of updates coming because there's just a lot of bugs, which doesn't really affect the experience, but there's quite a few bugs on PlayStation and then also on Switch for my friend. Well, but I'm hoping that like one of the quality of life things is that they let you pick from any of your followers because that was I got married a few times though, so
I married 2 people, but one died, and then I sacrificed the other one so he didn't find out that I married someone else. But I wanted to sacrifice the old people, not like because I don't like old people, but like because they were gonna die anyway. Their bio was like, "I'm on my way out," and I'm like, "Well, fuck it, I'll send you up to heaven, then I'll get some better weapons or whatever." And it wouldn't let me, and I thought maybe it was just like you have to keep the elderly around because they're elderly. Like I don't know, maybe I'm
I would check every so often to see if one of the people I could sacrifice was elderly because, like you said, they don't do anything besides be old.
They just fucking walk around like, "I'm old and dying." Like, that's all they say when you read their minds, and it's like, okay, cool, man, we get it. Like, odd flex. Do something. I'm not paying you to just fucking walk around and shit on the grass.
Yeah, so you can kill any of them. You can ascend some of them if you're feeling nice, but that was pointless. I think I sent like 2 to heaven.
I ascended some. I did it over sacrificing them because I felt like whenever I sacrificed someone, the cult got very like sus about it, and they were kind of like, I don't like that, and like same because I would feel the same way, you know. But if you tell them they're going to heaven, then they're like, "Oh, look at him, he's ascending, he's
happy."
Yeah.
Yeah, you can reward them, you can have like feast and stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of follower interaction that's very fun. And like somehow my friends still get dialogue that I haven't seen, so there's like a lot in there for them to say to you for activities that can happen. So
which is cool.
But yeah, your game's probably a little bit different than mine just because you like have two options, and then if you pick one, you can't use the other. So like if you didn't get to bring things back from the dead, it's probably because you used a different
Yeah,
doctrine
I
that
didn't
told
pick
them
that.
that resurrection was not okay. And I was like, resurrection is fine here.
I don't remember what I used, but I think I picked a
Witchcraft.
funeral one. So you could like have a
That's
funeral,
probably what it
and then
was.
you get like, you get to, it's better than chopping up their meat, I guess. Although
Yeah,
I
it
think you
is.
can have a funeral for a guy whose meat you chopped up. Which
Well,
is
that's
just a
nice.
whole kind of messed up thing going on there. I would take the meat of the dead guy and then just sell it for like 8 gold. And I was like, fucking man, you can like loot the corpse. But it's fun. It's a really fun game. It's definitely like one of those games that I recommend. And it's, what would you say? Probably about 20 hours start to finish if you just play it at like a regular pace, maybe even a little less. I took my time a little
Probably
bit.
less.
Yeah. I didn't want to rush through it. I was like, I'm just gonna like wait some days and do this stuff. I think I got to day
I
80.
rolled Yeah, I rolled credits at 15 hours, and kept getting like caught up doing things. So you could definitely beat the game, probably maybe like 10 to 12
Yeah.
if you're like only just like running through dungeons, because it's not like you said, it wasn't that difficult. I just kept getting caught up doing side stuff. It like really surprised me too with unlocking different parts of the map and having like more to do, because I thought it was just going to be dungeons and cult, but
Mhm.
they gave you like different locations, like different new characters, and even like a little mini dice game, which
Yeah,
is so
Knucklebones.
fun.
I like that. I thought that was
Yeah, it's a
fun.
good game.
Kind of
But game
weird
of the
though.
year contender for sure. It's been a dry year. I honestly forgot about Elden Ring when I was thinking about
Yeah,
them
Elden
earlier.
Ring
So
has
like
to.
for me, Elden Ring, yeah, but like if Elden Ring wasn't there, but like just for me, like that's in my top three for the year so
I was
far
gonna
in
say
no
Horizon
particular
Forbidden
order.
West.
Yeah,
Uh,
Horizon and then Lego
Pokemon
Skywalker
Pokemon
Saga.
Legends Arceus is one people liked
Oh
a lot
shit, that was
too.
January of this year. Yeah, okay. I,
Uh,
I got some thinking to do before the end of the year then.
the
I'm
cool.
hoping. Oh no, Hogwarts just got moved in it.
I don't.
It did.
Never played it.
Well, Ragnarok was supposed to come out.
Well,
It's
that got
still
moved.
supposedly coming out this year, so I think if anything has a chance to dethrone Elden Ring, God of War.
I'd be surprised if any. I mean, Tiny Tina's came out this year too, which was a cool game. I don't think it was Game of the Year, but it was definitely really fun. But I think Elden Ring's probably going to end up being that. I would be, unless
That
something swipes. I mean, Horizon looks gorgeous. I've just never played. Like, I haven't actually.
Horizon's fan. That wasn't on our list, but that would be a game I would tell you to play. Tex said so. Well, thanks for the follow, by the way. Is God of War Ragnarok going to enter on the list? Going to be released 9th of November. I
Eh,
think for the official Game of the Year list, I think it might be on like the cusp of the cutoff for the Game Awards. But like for me, yeah, I'm just gonna count it like
November
January 1st till the
19th
end. Is the cutoff?
Yeah. Yep.
So they might make it. I don't know. We'll see what the Game Awards ends up doing, because they need time for like reviewers and stuff to have the game and such and finish it. But it should be fine.
It could go to
We'll
Skyrim
see.
again, realistically, if they were to release it again on something this year. I don't know if that
You
would
know what's
work.
funny is like during all of these Game Awards shows, I was like, I want Skyrim to get a PS5 edition. My friends were like, no, like they're not gonna do that. They just did the PS4. They did it. The
Yeah.
Legendary Edition. I was like, yeah.
I just don't. It's just too many. There's like 104 copies of that game at this point. It's insane. I'm waiting. When's it come out on mobile? Like, when is there Skyrim mobile? That's got to be next, right? Like a shortened
That'd be
version
fantastic.
with a bunch of microtransactions.
Elder Scrolls Online. That's
Well, Elder Scrolls Online exists, and then is God of War. I mean, I definitely think that God of War could be. I didn't know it was coming out that soon. I got to finish God of War. I mean, now that I'm done with Cult of the Lamb,
I'm honestly still surprised it hasn't been spoiled for you, so you gotta get on that.
I mean, I try to avoid spoilers. You're the only one
Yeah,
who
but someone could have
almost
said it
spoiled
during the
something.
chat, and I was like scared that someone
Oh,
was going to.
no.
So.
I mean, I don't think it would like destroy the game for me either way. I have my theories, and I'm expecting to probably be wrong, but I had a feeling that Freya was a god, so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Cult of the Lamb, I would say if I'm giving it my personal rating, I would say 8.5 out of 10, which is just like almost an A minus. I do think it had a few oh, Colroy said, how far along are you on God of War? So I actually haven't played in a couple weeks because I started playing Cult of the Lamb, and then before that I've been playing Dead by Daylight a little bit. So I just was a little bit like distracted because I've been playing with friends like online, and so I only have so much time in the day to play games because like I feel like I'm literally busy all the time somehow. And as much as I'd love to have a day to just like sit down and just fucking spend the whole day playing video games and not doing anything else, like that's not always feasible. But yeah, I would say probably like maybe about the halfway point ish. Like,
get going.
I mean, I'm gonna finish it. I have 3 months, and I'm not gonna. I mean, problem is I like start a game and then go to something else. Do the same thing I do with shows that I do with games, which is kind of a problem. But this one I finished. Cult of the Lamb I finished, and
Woo.
so
I
yeah.
am wearing my cult T-shirt. It's for the wrong game, but the cult from
Children
Borderlands 3.
of the Vault. I like the shirt.
Yeah.
I don't.
They were a cult.
I have another Uncharted Horizons shirt that's Persona themed coming in, but it's not here yet. Someone asked me about it. I was like, I ordered a couple different shirts because like it's cool to like have the.
You just like how soft it is.
This shirt is so soft. It's very comfortable. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. Okay. So this was awesome, and we finished the bracket, which is a testament to like how that went. Couple quick.
We're gonna post the full bracket. You think?
We can. I can put the bracket together and put the results and actually put. Oh yeah, if you want to do it, that's fine. That might help.
I just need the results because I forget what they are.
Yeah, I have a list.
I know what we've got too, but just yeah.
We will post all of it. The podcast will be posted tomorrow, probably, because I forgot to record this. So I have to wait till your Twitch puts it up as a VOD so that I can actually take it down. Which should be the case, but I don't think that should be a problem. I just have to get it because I didn't realize till midway through I didn't hit the record button. But that's fine. We'll get it. But thanks so much to everybody who watched. And also, we reached over 50 downloads, which was really fucking awesome. So thank you guys for that. Everybody who's listened and downloaded, like, that's pretty cool just for something we just, like, randomly started, like, a couple weeks ago. And, like, it's been fun. So thank you to everyone who supported. And, remember, we are available on all streaming platforms except Pandora. But, like, fuck Pandora. Like, I don't. They, for some reason, just didn't approve.
I didn't know they were alive.
I didn't even know Pandora was still a thing. No, I was checking my MySpace.
Really
and,
not.
No. And congratulations again to the winner. I will get that information posted on our Twitter in a little bit. That was, again, Nergy Herald. I don't know how to pronounce that, but congratulations. God of War 1. And this was a lot of fun. And should we briefly tease our next show? Are we pretty confident that that's going to be where we go?
Sure. I don't know what you're talking about, but yep.
Oh, then we can. Well, you said you wanted to go with the poll results from our fan poll and do that. Yeah. So our next show, which is to be determined date wise, I'd like to think eventually we'll get a relatively consistent date down pat. But like we both have hectic schedules, so our biggest concern is just like at least doing one show a week, and then we'll worry about like a specific like day of the week later. But we are gonna dive into Pokemon, and I don't know what that's gonna entail. Pokemon games, like we'll probably like discuss it a little bit, like what we should bring to the table, like hey, do some get a list of like Pokemon games you like or Pokemon you like or whatever. Like there's a billion different directions, but that was what the fan poll voted for our conversation. And Nicole won't let me do a Star Wars show until I watch episode 1, so we have to wait on that a little bit longer. But I very much am looking forward to talking about sequels at some point and how I think they're very hated on for no reason, except episode 8, which is terrible. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day that we will have. So we will be back next week at some point with, well, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll definitely know before anybody else. Like if you want to be in that special.
We're gonna play that. Who's that Pokemon game?
I was thinking Pokemon. I thought that could be kind of fun. Who know? I don't know how many.
Time it's gonna be Pikachu.
We'll play with the chat and we'll give away. We'll play with the chat and we'll give away. Something. Whoever can guess the most Pokemon, will pop them up randomly throughout the stream or something. That could be fun. It's Pikachu.
Thanks, Roy, for the bits.
Thank you. Hope everyone has a safe day filled with tons of love and positivity. Good night. Thank you so much for watching.
Positivity. Oh God.
It's
I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
All right. I'll let you handle sending off. It is your channel after all. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check us out on our socials and check out Nicole's blog as well, because like it's definitely good and worth reading. So we'll see you guys next time.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, bye guys. You can end it too. That's fine.
Okay.